punching. Santa Cruz eventually throws more punches and lands more. Harold, how do you have it through 3?
Okay, Jim. 3-0, 30-27. Armando Santa Cruz. You know, Jim, Lennox Lewis called it perfectly. He's got a very, very tight defense. Talking about Santa Cruz, it's not easy to score on him. David Diaz starts each round just as you called it. Very, very strong. Throws a lot of shots. Not that many get through. 3-0, Santa Cruz.
I've been calling him Jose Maria Santa Cruz. It's Jose Armando Santa Cruz. Thank you so much for the correction, Harold. I'm thinking of a Spanish golfer, of course. And the Spanish golfer never turns southpaw on the golf course, except, of course, for a couple of terrific trouble shots. But Jose Armando Santa Cruz continues to turn southpaw here against David Diaz, and I guess he likes what he's getting out of it, Lennox.
Yeah. Any boxer that can do both, that can turn southpaw and orthodox, sometimes they want to do that. They want to give the guy a different look, throw different combinations, and if those punches are getting through, then they stay southpaw.
Your Hagler reference, of course, refers to Marvelous Marvin Hagler turning conventional rather than southpaw in the opening round of his fight against Sugar Ray Leonard, which I always saw as a cue to the judges that he thought he had more to worry about than they might have thought before the fight. Starting off in an unconventional stance seemed to say, this is a really intriguing fight, as opposed to, I'm better than Ray Leonard, I ought to beat him. And if Leonard, of course, as you know, got the decision that night in 1986.
And it could have went either way.
Well, to this day, it's probably as heavily debated as any fight we've ever seen, Lennox. I mean, the number of times, 20 years later, that somebody will stop you on the street and say, don't you think Hagler deserved the decision against Leonard? I don't know if there's another fight that elicits as much discussion like that.
I tell you what, it breaks down to the judging, what the judges seen in the fight.
And incidentally, Chris Jones reminds me it was 1987. May 6, 1987, I believe, Chris. Round 4 between David Diaz and Jose Armando Santa Cruz. Fight is scheduled for 12. Santa Cruz throwing a seemingly awkward straight left hand out of his southpaw stance, but landing it enough to decide that he wants to stay in this position. David Diaz gets in a good left hand to the body. Almost all of Diaz's effective connects in the fight have been to the body, and judges find it easier to score head punches. Small trickle of blood from outside the right eye of David Diaz, as round 4 follows a pattern similar to its 3 predecessors.
Up in the head. So man, that's ready to be a head blow.
David, you got to keep them hands inside, baby. You're pulling away. Don't pull away.
All right, we'll get this.
When you stay on top of him, man, you're doing so much better. You're waiting too much, David. Bend your knees and get low. After the combinations, like Kevin said, you tie him up, got to go to the side. He goes so.
Entonces a esta distancia pegan. Dirán, pero no busques el recto de zurda si está caminando para atrás.
You turn in southpaw when he's walking that way. Hit him with this punch. Come on, yeah. If you're going to turn southpaw, lead with it.
Corner seems curious as to why he wants to fight southpaw all the time, too. They're saying if you want to fight out of a southpaw stance, why don't you throw a right jab? CompuBox numbers in 4. Santa Cruz 29 out of 127. Diaz 12 out of 127 punches in the round. Fighting out of the stance opposite from his normal. Obviously, Santa Cruz is one of those willing fighters. And now Diaz manages to back him up once again with good, solid body punching in the first minute of the round. Well, I'll make my point again, Lennox. You're going to survive as a body puncher in this fight, as David Diaz is trying to do. you'd better do some damage with those body shots. And I just don't know that he's able to slow down Santa Cruz.
No, he's trying to find some way of getting in there and getting some punches in, but he's not doing a good job right now.
Do you think the southpaw stance has bothered him?
Not really, but it's created a cut over his head, on top of his head.
Yep. Diaz trying to muscle Santa Cruz back to the ropes. Santa Cruz lands enough punches to back Diaz back off. They go back to the center of the ring where Santa Cruz has the advantages. Longer arms, quicker, more willing to throw. All these things add up to rounds that seem not that difficult to score in favor of the guy who's throwing twice and sometimes 3 times as many punches, Jose Armando Santa Cruz.
Santa Cruz is throwing a lot more punches, but Diaz looks a bit more withered and tired.
Well, sometimes taking him is harder than throwing him. Diaz leaping forward. And you can see what Lennox is talking about as the blood flows.